Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Hacked, a let's play where we explore some weird sides of Minecraft. Last episode, on our way back from the spider farm, we saw that this island had trees with missing leaves, and we found this cave entrance here. Could this be related to the weird stuff happening in this world? Let's investigate. Slow. There seems to be light around the corner. There must be something. Oh my god, did you notice the bedrock on the floor? This must be from the one that has been messing with us. Let's see. Oh, okay. This looks weird. What is this? I've never seen that in Minecraft. Is that a computer and a bottle? And all these signs. Who is LiveOverflow? Counting the days here. Oh crap, there's a camera. Well, now it's too late. We are fully on it. What is this place? Seems like this person is trapped here somehow. This bottle, Club Mate. I think I've heard about this before. Let's use the computer and search. Yeah, on Wikipedia it's described as Club Mate has developed a following in computer hacker culture. Vice, how a German soda became hackers' fuel of choice. Sounds interesting. Let's take it. Alright, let's taste it. I think you have to get used to it, but yeah, it's pretty good. What else can we find in here? Is this a book over there? It's a research paper. Interesting. Redstone blocks and sticks. Looks like a crafting recipe, let's remember that. But that seems like all of it, I don't see anything else. Outside it was already getting dark and I wanted to leave before whoever lives here comes back. Let's sleep for the night and then tomorrow we can look at the details of the research paper. You know, I tried to sleep, but I just couldn't. I don't know what it is. I was just so full of energy all night. And now the sun is coming up again. Damn it. Oh wait, I think I know what it was. Club Mate. That is a crazy drink. Well, let's check out the crafting recipe. We need redstone blocks and sticks. Here we go. Key axe. What the heck is a key axe? Is this like a keyboard on a stick or what? It's called axe, so maybe we can hack wood with it? Let's try it. Ooh, it drops additional redstone dust when we cut down a tree. That's cool, I guess, free redstone. Whoever came up with this seems to be a really good researcher. I didn't know this existed in Minecraft. Anyway, focus. I told you last episode that I want to build a creeper farm next, and of course I have watched several videos on how to make a creeper farm, but I wanted to research it a bit myself. I always like to understand how people come up with farms, why they are shaped the way they are shaped, and so I went into creative mode experimenting with this. From watching videos, I know creepers are scared of cats. So first I want to figure out how far away a creeper can be and still want to flee from a cat. To do this, I created this test setup with a cat and some walls. Throwing down a creeper spawn egg will spawn a creeper and maybe it will run away. We can experiment a few times and throw the egg at different distances and simply observe the behavior. So here the creeper immediately runs, and doing this a few times we should be able to figure out the distance. And it seems to be around 6 blocks. But this is just a straight line, and to get more out of the cat, it would be better to have it in the middle and the creeper running off in any direction around it. So next we can section off an area of a circle to experiment more diagonally. And we can also place trapdoors at the edge so the creeper will run off. This is closer to the final farm design. Again, I'm just playing around with different spawning positions to see if they are triggered by the cat and where the platform has to stop. Doing this for a while, eventually we can come up with the proper distance for a circle all around the cat. Here you can see me test it again, just throwing down spawn eggs to simulate creeper spawning and check if all of them run off the edge. And maybe we find small edge cases that we still need to improve, but eventually we figured it all out and we have the base for the farm. Next we want to make sure that the spawn conditions only allow creepers to spawn, but I have seen this in videos. I know that, for example, carpets placed in this pattern will prevent spiders from spawning. Mobs cannot spawn on carpet, and because spiders require more than just a single free block, they won't spawn. And zombies spawning can be prevented by the height of the ceiling. Because they are as high as a player, creepers are shorter. So with additional trapdoors on the ceiling, we can ensure only creepers spawn. Anyway, I continued to design the whole farm in creative, but let me show you the result on my survival world. Let's turn on super fast build mode and build the creeper farm. What do you think? For creepers to spawn, we also need to be a bit further away, so above the farm I built a floating island where we can AFK while the farm is running. Awesome. Creepers spawn on the layers, get scared by the cat and fall down on the side into the water, which transport them into the middle where they fall through and get transported to a kill chamber. Awesome. Now we have a great source of gunpowder. Now let's talk about something else. I know, in almost every episode I try to justify why playing Minecraft is useful for hacking. And here I just want to give you another example. But before I can tell you, I need to explain something first. It has to do with the crazy cave we found at the start of this episode. Of course, the computer, the club mate, the camera and the key X recipe are not part of regular Minecraft. Actually, my significant other and I created them. We wanted to learn how to customize Minecraft, and so we stumbled over Blockbench. And with various YouTube tutorials, we learned how to create our own 3D models. But Minecraft is weird, custom models are supported in a really weird way. Let me show you. In Minecraft you have so-called resource packs. It's nothing fancy, they are literally just a collection of files that can override the looks of items, mostly the textures. So basically I can go into the Minecraft jar to the assets and find the stone texture. Then I go into the resource packs folder, into the Minecraft folder and create a specific folder structure with a MC meta file. It's the same asset path like in the Minecraft jar. Now we can extract the stone texture here. Then let's modify it. I open it up in Photoshop and draw on it. I show you what I made in just a moment. I save the image now and in the game menu we can see this resource pack showing up. We apply it, the game will now reload the game texture and here we go. I made a Bitcoin block. Now we can go and mine Bitcoins. I'm gonna be rich. Go away, hater, you don't know the power of crypto. Thumbs up for this amazing joke. Crypto is a joke, by the way, don't get invested in this scam. Anyway, changing some textures is easy, but resource packs support a little bit more than just that. You can also change other stuff about items using these JSON files. Here, for example, is the file for a potion which has a custom mate bottle 3D model. But let me show you in more detail the computer we made. I thought I'd just take a carpet and change the model. This is just how the JSON has to look like. I learned this in various YouTube tutorials. So this is the base carpet file and now we can override the model with the new model. This is the path to the model file I created with Blockbench. However, this model is only applied when the item has a special internal custom model data value set to 133701. To get a carpet item like this, we can go to MC Stacker, which is a simple tool to help us build the command to create such an item. So here we say we want to give our player a gray carpet with the custom model data 133701. We could also change the name of it and do whatever. Here is the resulting command. Using this command in-game, we give our player this special item. But turns out it still looks like a carpet. Somehow overwriting the model didn't work. Even placing it, we don't see the new model. Except when we throw the item on the floor, suddenly it does show up. So we only changed the model for the item when dropped on the floor like this. This was very weird and took me a while to figure out. Again, I watched YouTube tutorials for this. Turns out the answer is armor stance. Armor stands can hold items, the actual 3D model of an item. So the trick for custom models is you display it on an armor stand. And Blockbench allows us to change how an item is displayed on an armor stand. So here I'm moving the computer all the way to the bottom of it. And with MC Stacker, we can now create the monster of a command we need. So we want to give our player an armor stand item, which on its head carries a gray carpet, which has the custom model 133701. And we also set the armor stand itself to invisible. And this is the result. If I place this armor stand, we now see the computer. In this case, I enabled item glowing, so you can see that in reality this custom item is an armor stand. The armor stand itself is just hidden. And this is when I understood why everybody always talks about armor stands when it comes to custom Minecraft models. Here's for example Timberforge. On this channel are a lot of awesome data pack tutorials, and he created a working tank. When showing details on how this tank is implemented, you can see all the armor stands. And same thing with this very popular and amazing data pack for bendable pistons. In one video, this guy showed how he made it, and it turns out all these custom bendy piston parts are again armor stands just holding an item with that particular model. I never understood before why armor stands are always used, but now I do. It's the one special Minecraft item that can hold the 3D model of another item. I don't understand why Mojang hasn't created a set of items with different properties where you can just override the model. Why do we have to use the dumb armor stand? Anyway, this works. And now we finally come to my sales pitch, why this was useful for hacking. First of all, leave me alone, Minecraft is awesome and it was a ton of fun just creating my own custom models and seeing them in the world. But second of all, if we want to look for more vulnerabilities in Minecraft, we need to understand the available attack surface. We need to know all the different features that exist and how to use them in order to think about how we can attack them. And file handling is always a tricky area. A Minecraft server can define a link to a custom resource pack. When somebody joins this server, the player is prompted and asked if they want to install it, which means the game has to download the resource pack file to load them. And so we just identified our first attack surface. Can resource packs downloaded and installed from a malicious server do anything bad? And thanks to learning how resource packs work, we know the features. For example, we know that you can have custom item data, which also can reference other files here. These are basically file paths. So not only have we identified a possible attack surface, but we already understand that feature well enough to hunt for bugs. Let's do it. To do this, I use IntelliJ again, specifically my Fabric mod project, and here under the external libraries, the Minecraft jar is listed and we can now read the code. But where do we start? Well, apparently the server has to communicate to the client that there is a resource pack, and in the wiki.vg we can find the resource pack sent packet. It contains the URL to the resource pack. Let's find this code. Minecraft, the network packet, and then the packet is sent from the server to the client, so S2C. And here in the play folder I found the resource pack sent packet. Here is some code just parsing it, reading the URL and reading the hash, but when the packet is fully read, it now forwards this packet to the onResourcePackSend function handler. This function looks like it's doing a lot, so we can start looking for vulnerabilities. When you do code review, you always want to think about what an attacker could control. And in this case, if we assume a malicious server, any data from the packet, so the URL and the hash, they can be completely controlled. So what can we do? First, it calls validate resource pack URL, so we have to get past this check. This function passes the URL string into a URI object and performs various checks. For example, if the protocol, so the scheme, is not HTTP, not HTTPS, and not level, then we fail. So I update my mental model. An attacker cannot fully control the URL. It must start with HTTP, HTTPS, or level. Which already means some attack ideas wouldn't work. For example, using file URIs or Windows network paths starting with just // All of that is not possible. But that doesn't mean there are no other issues. The second if case is also interesting. It will always return true if it wasn't a level URI. So any HTTP or HTTPS URI will work. But if it is a level URI, then the URL must not contain ... and end in /resources.zip. So obviously they try to prevent path traversals with ... and they want to ensure that the referenced file is named resources.zip. I actually know that this is a fix to a vulnerability that was reported in 2018. Check out this blog post by Punkiel. Here is how the packet handling code used to look like. It simply took the path from a level URI and concatenates it with the Minecraft saves folder path. And now if this path points to a valid file that exists, it would respond with a resource pack status packet with the status accepted. If it doesn't exist, it would send failed download. So with a path traversal, a malicious server could basically ask the client, hey, does this file exist? And the game would respond yes or no. It's not a crazy issue, it's a small information leak, but still, it's a small issue. So here we have the fix. But is this fix enough? You cannot use ... so no path traversal anymore, and it must end with /resources.zip. So this looks good, I guess. But let's go out again. We have validated the input now and we reach another if case. So either it's a level URI or it was a HTTP or HTTPS URI. The level case was the one that was vulnerable in the old version. So let's see what it does here. You can see it's very similar to how the code used to be, but also slightly different. We take the URL, we concatenate a file path and check if it's a file. If it exists, we send the packet to the server. So can we still exploit this, or is this really fixed now? Here you have to really look at the details. This code includes a few anti-patterns, and I'd like to reference a video I made a few months ago about fuzzing Java for another Log4Shell issue. Let me play a snippet from that video.
Now, if we look at this function at a high level, there's something sort of interesting that we can observe. So we see that name is the attacker controlled input. In this try block, they parse name into this URI, validate the URI, but then use name down here at the bottom. And this is sort of a dangerous code pattern because the thing that they validated is URI, not name.
And now apply this to the code here. The URL from the packet has the type string and is passed into validate resource pack. Here it is parsed into a URI to get the scheme and check it, but the ... and the ends with is checked on the string URL, not the URI object. That is already an anti-pattern, but these two parts are not yet security relevant. Though now we know that the path traversal check is done on the string URL. But look at what happens next. Here, the string is URL decoded. This transforms the string, and now this transformed string is used to assemble the path. Let me show you. Here's a simple test Java program I wrote with a test malicious level URL. And here it does the URL decoding and then appends it to the path like the Minecraft code, and then prints some stuff. You see, our URL does not contain ... so no path traversal, right? Well, do you see the %2e? Those are URL encoded dots, and after the decode, they become dots. Let me run the program. So first it prints the original string, and then it prints the absolute path of the concatenated file. And here you can see the ... /path traversal. We move out of the temp ASD folder and try to access a test.txt file. Here is also the canonical path, so the path after the path traversal is resolved. So now we access this test.txt file outside of the folder. I do wonder if maybe they added the URL decode at a later point, but didn't realize that they just broke their code again. I don't know. Probably it would make more sense to first do the URL decode right here at the start. Well, you probably wonder if I reported this issue. I did not, because it's not really exploitable. There was one other test. In validate resource pack URL, they ensure that the URL ends with /resources.zip. So let's add this code to the test as well and play around with it. We could try to put an encoded null byte there. Maybe this way we can get arbitrary paths, but that doesn't work. Maybe a new line. No. Then I was also thinking if we somehow make it think the URL scheme is HTTP, but the string still starts with level : // then it would not have to end in resources.zip. But I don't see a way. I'm just playing with this and see what happens. For example, I cannot put a space at the start of the scheme, but I realized a scheme without // is still a valid scheme, and the code then does a substring assuming it's level : //. As you can see, using this URL, the code will cut off the first 2 characters, which means if we just do /resources.zip, we see it cut off the start. Obviously a bug, but I don't see it having really any security relevance. So let's continue in the code. We could also check out what happens if we have an HTTP URL. Then it attempts to download a zip. Could we maybe influence where the file is downloaded to? In the download function, we can see that the file path is assembled in the server packs root folder using string. And string is the hash of the URL. So we cannot do a path traversal here either. Though we know it's a zip file and maybe they unpack the zip, that can also open up a whole can of worms. But looking into load server pack following down to the instantiation of the zip resource pack object, we see that access to the files inside the zip never leads to actually writing the files to disk. The operations are all done just walking the zip entries. Okay, now you have seen the process of doing code reviews, and I didn't check more than that, to be honest. Feel free to review the code further, now you know how it works. Anyway, I think we looked at enough code for now. But before we end, let me tell you about one last thing. I recorded the Let's Play footage of this episode around the time when I published the first episode of Minecraft Hacked. As you can see, there's quite a big time gap between making these videos and actually releasing them. But check this out. Here I created a lava pool, and below it, in this hole, there is the server spawn. When I released the first episode on the 1st of April, I removed the allow list of the server. Anybody can join. The question is just, will people find the server? I don't know yet. It's kind of scary. But keep in mind the timeline, please. I published the first episode on the 1st of April, so this is when the server opened. The Let's Play footage of this video is from around that time. Now, me editing this video is at the end of April, and you will get to see the episode even later. So I cannot promise you that at the time of releasing this video, the server is still available. But there was obviously plenty of time for very dedicated people to find the server before. So let's see what happens. Of course, I will tell you about everything that happened in a future episode of Minecraft Hacked.